just dropped off from this gentleman. The middle of the camera is zoomed in. With the Rentec intakes and everything. It's just in for check engine light, and there's a low boost code for some reason, so we're gonna figure that out and look over everything at first. 217. That's the chassis code for the S Coupe. I guess that's different than the regular S Class. Interesting. Anyways, so we're gonna check it out and do the basic inspection first, and see what else might be wrong with it, like this torn seal. He's definitely gonna need that. Okay, so just routing some of these seals right. This is the wrong style clip, but it's in there, and that was missing. Just a couple broken body panels and things. Everything else looks fine. This major concern, clearly on backwards. The updated version chain in it, so that's good to see. Then, oh, they cut this to fit the. That's a clean cut.
I would have never done that.
Yes. Okay, so just looking at anything obvious, any oil leak or anything, that coolant's completely empty. The main coolant is full. The belt is all right. You can kind of see it's riding off the edge of the back of the belt a little bit. I mean, off the back of the pulley, the belt is, how far away it is from the edge there. But that's all right. And the water pump too, you want to look at the water pump pulley to make sure the belt isn't off that. This pulley comes detached from the shaft a lot, which is super common. Everything else looks fine. The belt looks healthy. No oil in the under tray, which is great. No oil or coolant down under the intercooler, which is great. These front cylinder head covers are leaking a little bit of oil. You can see on there it's kind of residuey. On the other side, yeah, it's not like active leak, like wet oil, but it's definitely got a bit coming out. You can see a little bit better from underneath and to be able to tell if it's dripping off or anything. And then this oil cooler too is known to leak, but I don't see any oil coming from that. So that looks fine. Nothing really worth addressing up top except for maybe like these front timing chain covers. So let's see what it looks like underneath. So now check everything under it. First thing on this side, this axle boot is torn somewhere. You can see how much grease is slinging. Even there, by where the boot ends, you can see the green grease coming out. And then everything around here is very, like, has all this gunk build up on it. It's supposed to look about like this. All clean, just simply dirty metal. But this is all grease from the axle that's been slinging it out. I don't know if a boot kit is available there or not, or if it might need an axle. But these ball joint boots all look good. None of those are torn. Inside brakes are very low. You can get a shot of that. Maybe, yeah. Try to get it angled a little bit more to look up in there. If you can. Okay, yeah, that's good. You can see there that there's barely any pad material left. And these rotors are all already on at least their second set of pads. And these outside pads are a bit thicker than the inside, but still pretty low. I'd say about 4 millimeters. And usually the sensors, the brake wear sensors on these cars go off at 2 to 3. So it's right there on the verge. Especially if this inside of the sensor on this one's on the, it's on this side, but this brake bleeder cap was left loose from whoever did the last brake flush. Oh, here's the sensor. It's tied in a knot up on the wire. So it's not even, they zip tied the sensor here. So this is the brake wear sensor that would probably have been going off by now if it would be inside the brake pad. But it's not. All these boots look good. These bushings, piece of electrical tape here. It goes to something somewhere. This bushing looks okay. It's starting to tear a little bit, but not really super concerning. Okay. And this bushing here also looks okay. Oh, not from this side. You can see this bushing's completely torn away from the intersection there. Yeah. You can see how torn that is. Let me check the other side. Yeah, it's the same way. Right here, you can see the shiniest part of the rubber. That's completely separated away. So that bushing's torn out. So lower control arm bushing's needed there. Oh, new fender liner. That's good to see. The new U-nut, but it's missing a bolt, so that's there. Okay, now this isn't wet with oil or anything, so I don't see nothing there. This is all-wheel drive, so the front diff here, which is leaking a bit. That's pretty common. You can see it's not dripping with oil, but it's definitely like gooey in there. You can see all that oil residue on the front diff. That's just an O-ring replacement, but you have to take the front drive shaft out to get to the thing and this catalytic converter and all that stuff. So looking off the back of the head, don't see anything leaking back there. Completely dry, which is good to see. One wiring harness there that isn't clipped in all the way, which is a bit concerning. Speaking of wiring harness, I forgot to check this one with oil. I'll do that once I lower it back down. It's super common on these engines for the camshaft position sensors to leak oil into the wiring harness. So I'll check that once I get it back down and make sure the wires aren't oily. Transmission, I can tell it's been serviced before because the gasket's leaking a little bit. Just a little bit. Okay, so just looking at this side of the head, I can see a pretty good bit of oil pooling down here on the bottom of this wiring loom. You can see there's a bunch of oil, and it's even on the exhaust here burning off on the catalytic converter. And you can look a little further up and see, I noticed the oxygen sensor connectors are disconnected. I mean, not disconnected, but they're not in their holder. They're just kind of dangling there, so someone's been up in here at some point before. Okay, so, and the oil is coming from the vacuum pump way up there. It runs off the back of the camshaft, so you really probably can't get a focus on it. It's at the very top of the engine, but that's where it's coming from. So moving back from there, let's check the transmission mount back here. I just kind of pull down on the drive shaft and see how much plays in the transmission. Not very much at all. It feels pretty stiff. Usually you can pull the transmission down and feel it kind of like cushiony. I don't feel anything. It's solidly down on the control arm. Do you feel any vibration on this thing?
No, someone did the...
Like an idle or anything?
No. Someone probably did the transmitter on it.
They may have. It feels pretty collapsed, but if you're not feeling any vibration, especially at idle, sitting like in gear, it's probably fine. This ground strap, I don't know what's going on with this. Going off somewhere. That's fine, it works because it starts, and that's the ground for the block all the way back at the engine. The rubber flex disc here, yeah, it looks great. No cracks in it or anything. Can't really see it from the front. Moving back here, resonator deletes. And the rear flex disc, you can see it's cracking out pretty bad. You can see pretty deep tear in it there and here. On the other side of that as well. There. So I would definitely get another flex disc in that. And these axle boots on the rear look okay. No issues are leaking from those. These bushings look good. And then these inboard bushings all look good. So looking at the rear brake pads, they're also getting pretty low. Not as low as the fronts. They're probably 4, maybe 5 millimeters. I don't know if you'll be able to get a focus on the pad directly because it's heavily angled. The tire tread's good. We're running spacers here, I see on the wheels. And these rotors are also definitely on their second set. That's a very steep lip. And yeah, the outside pad is a bit low. It looks lower than it is because the lip is so far, like the pad sits down inside like the rotor body because it wears a groove into it. So they're not, this pad's probably 40% life or so. And no bubbles in the tires or anything. Now moving to this side, quickly looking at the diff bushings, which aren't a common failure point on this engine at all. Luckily, it's not a BMW, so. Looking at these bushings, they all look okay. No tearing in any of these. The upper control arm bushings look okay. And then these rear brakes, about the same as the other ones. The rear tires look good.
Brand new.
And rear brakes look good too. Okay, just took the undershield off to gain access to this oil leak a little more and confirm that it's the vacuum pump, which it is. And found, for one, this motor mount. I wonder if they've been replaced before. You said they've been replaced, didn't you? They replaced motor mounts?
Not on.
Oh, okay, never mind.
It doesn't seem like.
Well, there's the E14 like it's supposed to be, and there's a hex like number 15 it looks like. Anyways, this axle shaft here, you can see, there's an intermediate shaft that goes through the middle of the oil pan because it's all-wheel drive. And this axle simply spawns into the diff like normal. But this axle spawns onto this shaft, and this shaft is held in to this oil pan with what's supposed to be a snap ring. The snap ring is gone, so then someone kindly just took a coat hanger and like wrapped it around the bearing groove and tied it in a little knot. And now you can see the bearing is like halfway out of the oil pan. Where are we at? Right here. It's supposed to be flush back there. This groove in the bearing isn't where the snap ring's supposed to go. It's supposed to go on the face of it, and it's supposed to be holding it in there. So that's what's holding the whole axle in, is that little coat hanger right there. So the S63 just got done with the inspection. So now I'm about to diagnose why the check engine light's on and it's having low boost issues.